Hi, and welcome. I'm going to do a little bit of computer, I would call it wizardry, but I'm far from a wizard here. All right, let's see if I actually did this right. Hi, I'm Joan Porte. I am an evolutionary astrologer. I like that word a little bit better than karmic astrology because people think, oh, karma is always bad. And that's actually not true. Karma is simply the energy that we put out and how it comes back. So that whole idea of karma being a bitch, as they say in the vernacular, is really not accurate. But I liked the term evolutionary astrologer because that is what we're doing. When I take your chart, right, I look at this chart and I say, how can I sort of guide this person to evolve, right? To say, this is what you've gotten from your past life. This is in your subconscious. This is coming from before. This is what's making up your package of who you are now. How can you use the best parts of that, right? Make the best better and get rid of that which is keeping you stuck. Because the whole purpose of evolutionary astrology, pardon me, is to do that, is to move forward. Why bother reincarnating, going through all the hassle, doing all of that stuff, if you're simply going to remain stuck? If you're simply not going to move forward, it kind of defeats the whole purpose. So that's what we're doing here. That's what I'm looking at here. So today, because I don't know if we pay really as much attention to the houses as we should. The houses in astrology are the building blocks. I mean, they are always there. They have always been there. And so we want to look at these houses and see why it's so important. You know, when so-and-so or this planet or that happens there, why is that valuable? What is the energy in those houses? Because if you don't get the houses, you're just not going to get it. And so this is also very good because if you see a transit or a progression about to happen in this house, a big one, the Plutos, the Saturns, the one who take a long time, those sort of slow, grinding, changing type planets, you know, how do I prepare for it? How do I make the most of it? Again, I don't like to, when people say, oh, Pluto's going through my house of health, I'm going to get sick. I don't like that kind of panic mode. But Pluto going through the sixth house says there can be changes. You can be proactive. We're not just blobs of clay. Okay, so this is why I find the house is very important. So today, I'm going to look at the fourth house, and you might say, why aren't you starting with the first house? The fourth, eighth, and 12th houses are the water houses. They are the houses that are opened, sitting the cusp of, they are the happy place of water signs. And water signs are innately more intuitive, they're more psychic, they're more karmic. They connect us to something bigger than the earth. And so from a karmic astrology point, you want to take advantage, pardon me, of what is going on in those houses. You want to use all the houses, but these houses have a special resonance. So today, the fourth house, we start with our roots. And I just want to bring up, I shouldn't do that. Bring up what I do and what I think all astrologers cast when you are doing progressions to sort of get this sense. So you see this wheel, this basic wheel, but this is a quad wheel. So the birth chart, that is the smallest little thing. It's inside that green ring. That is the person's birth chart. That's not going to change. That's what they were dealt this lifetime. And you can see they're numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Those are the houses. Okay. And then the next wheel out, the little one that's a little bit bigger, that is a secondary progression. That progresses or moves the fast guys, Sun, Moon, Mars, up to not including Jupiter. The next wheel is a solar arc. And that's what I look at to see where's the fast guys, the slow guys, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, all of those on out there, the asteroids, or the Kuiper Belt guys. How are they progressing or moving from when you were born? These two wheels to me indicate internal shifts. Like, this one in particular, if you look at the third wheel out, this one has Neptune, see the little blue trident thing, progressing in the third house. I'm sorry, the second house. Someday I'll know my numbers. And so the idea here is, what does that mean for that person? What does that mean internally? What's the shift? What's the kind of feeling that person's going to feel? It's like, I feel something different. I want to do something different in my life. So it's coming from within. The big wheel on the outside, right? That is the energy coming in from the universe. Okay, so if you look up in the 9th house, the sun is there. The sun is transiting this person's 9th house. So that's how we look at it. That is the energy coming in. If Neptune is going through the 2nd house from the outside, coming in from the universe, it's not, I feel like I want to change something. Something will occur to trigger a response. Now, the person doesn't have to respond to Neptune in the 2nd. I don't have an honest statistic, but I would guess 70% of the people in the world go around not knowing where Neptune is in their chart. So they're not responding. They're not being alerted that, I could do something here. I could change something about my life because Neptune is doing this. I could take advantage of it. And that's the value of having a karmic astrologer. So that's me. It says here, hi. I once had a person who was very much a Leo saying, how come you have your name on everything? And I said, well, that's because I have a techie who says it's really easy to have your name on everything. So he set all this stuff up. So don't worry, Leo. No one is trying to steal your thunder. I'm not trying to put myself out there. So I'm Joan Porte. My email is jonesastrology@joanporte.com, and my website is joanporte.com. Again, I have a techie who thinks that's a lot easier for everybody to remember, and it makes all that stuff, puts everything with joanporte.com at the end, and everybody's happy. Well, he is. If my techie's happy, I'm happy, because I don't do this stuff. So what's the role of the houses? Okay. I feel we don't give the houses credit enough. We sort of say, oh yeah, they're there, but they are the building blocks of the entire zodiac, and they have been there as far back as we know. The Sumerians used 12-house circle, the Babylonians. Now, did they come up with it? Did they swipe it from some culture that we don't have any clue of anymore? Does it go back even longer than that? We don't know, but we know the house system has been used for at least that long. Over the years, the roles of the houses have changed a bit. So now, for instance, the internet is wandering around. There was no internet when the Sumerians were wandering around, right? So where is rulership of the internet? Well, the rulership of the internet is now in the 9th house. And that makes sense, because the 9th house is the house where we go out in the world. It's foreign travel. It's interacting with people. It's higher education. It's learning. It's foreign affairs. It's publishing, broadcasting, right? It's getting out there. So it makes sense that the internet is now in the 9th house. However, if you study all the houses, there have been additions, there have been changes. For instance, this 9th house back in the day, in medieval times particularly, was a very, what they called a malefic. They had benefic and malefic houses. Why? Well, because it deals with foreign travel. And that was very, very dangerous. It deals with interaction of peoples, which often led to warfare. So now we look at it as, travel and study, but you see how we have evolved, we have changed, and so we sort of adapt the houses, but the basics are still there. So now every house, every planet, every sign, every planet and sign has a house that is, I like to call their happy place. Where do I like to be? Where does my energy resonate the most with? So for instance, starting with the first house, this is where Mars, this is where Aries thrives, right? Because it's the house of personality. It's the house of how we present ourselves, right? So Mars is a very, out there, masculine fire sign, right? So here I am. So this is the first house is where Mars and Aries loves to be in. It connects to them. Second house is the house of Venus and Taurus, right? Venus, we always forget, Venus has a lot to do with money. But Venus and Taurus, Earth, right, can stuff, connection. So it deals with money and value and our things, right? Are we a hoarder? Is our value connected to that stuff that we have? You see somebody with a very afflicted second house, they may be a hoarder. They may be someone who has to show everybody they have the biggest house in the world, and that's how I connect to my self-worth. They may say, I have a little cottage and it's fine. The second house, Venus Taurus, is going to tell us a lot about that. The communicator, Mercury, ruler of Gemini, loves to be in the third house because that is socialization, that is education, that is the connection of information, that is our siblings, our community. Remember, Mercury was the fleet-footed messenger from the gods. He would take the words of the gods and get them down to the mortals. That was his job. And if you look on the FTD trucks, the little dude with the winged gold shoes, that's Mercury. And they are saying we get things fast, right? And so the idea of Mercury, the communicator, the socializer, Gemini, the talker, the twins, the taking information. I had a teacher once who said Mercury and Gemini, they're very much into the Tao of money, the Tao of materials, the movement. How does it get from one place to another? The fourth house, which we will concentrate on today, is Moon, ruled by Moonchild or Cancer. It's the roots, it's the home, it's the mother, it's who we are. And as we will see, I like to go deeper in the fourth. We'll leave the fourth for a minute, but I like to look at it sort of like different levels. There's almost 4 levels of the fourth house, but we'll leave that for a minute. Then the fifth house, the fifth house, Leo, the sun, right? Because it's the house of children, of sexuality, of creativity. So there's Leo, there's the sun. Hey, look at me, revolve around me. It's where we put ourselves out there in a big way. So it naturally would vibrate to the sun. Hey, I'm in the center. Everybody, here I am. The sixth house is anything but. The sixth house is the Virgo house, ruled by Vesta. Now, I know some astrologers still use Mercury as the ruler of Virgo. I've never gotten that. I don't get that. It doesn't work for me at all. I like the more modern interpretation that is a Vesta, the burning heart's desire, the hearth fire going, right? And the sixth house is very earthy. It's health. It's my physical body. It's how I feed that body, work that body. It's how I work my local area. It's how I work everything, I always think of Virgo and Vesta as sort of the 50s madman secretary, with the perfectly coiffed look, the tight suit, the straight A-line suit, the horn-rimmed glasses. Everything is in order. Everything has a place. That is very, very Virgo, very sixth house, my health, my work. Seventh, Venus, Libra, partnership. Partnership, relationship, right? Again, Venus plays double duty because Venus rules both Taurus and Libra. We don't have, I actually think Venus likes to be with Libra a little more. I think we're still looking for the right ruler of Taurus. But the part of Venus where with Taurus, it's stuff and money and value, right? Security. With Libra, she expresses through partnerships, through relationships. We used to call the seventh house the marriage house. We've expanded it a little bit more. It's also business contracts. It's any like socialization contract, and it could be a contract in the form of, these are the people, these are my peers, this is my social elements, right? This is where I hang. Eighth house, another water sign. I'll be doing something on the eighth house soon. Vibrates to Pluto, Scorpio, right? It's death, rebirth, regeneration. It's another one of those houses that scare the living daylights out of people. But it's also dying to the old self, rebirthing the new self, right? It's all of that energy of empowering yourself. So when people freak out about it, it's, remember, it is connecting to the other side. It does deal with the act of death. Pluto, Hades to the Greek, was the god of the underworld. But it's also that powering, in empowering aspect. The ninth house, Jupiter, Sag, growth, learning. We talked about the ninth house, getting out there, studying something new, engaging, developing a religion or a philosophy. The 10th house is it's where Saturn and Capricorn like to be, because it deals with lifestyle, career, authority. Basically, I like to say is Saturn is where we realize, and the 10th house is where we realize that we live in linear space and time. Whether we like it or not, we live in linear space and time. And this is where the rules are. Now, you could be an anarchist. You could say, I don't like those rules, especially if you've got a lot of Uranus in there. But that's where the 10th house is. Order, structure, the career, the rules of society. The 11th house, Uranus Aquarius, likes that. This is group activity. This is, think of the age of Aquarius. We're all coming together to work toward a goal. We're all coming together to revitalize society with our ideals. You'll be hearing a lot more about Aquarius because Pluto in 2023 and 2024 will be moving into Aquarius. Pluto's been in Capricorn for since 2008. It will be moving in for a long run into Aquarius. And what will that bring in terms of group goals and working together and technology and social distancing, and all of this stuff is going to become much more impactful then. And that's the area of Uranus and Aquarius. And then finally, we got to the 12th house, which again, a very watery house, a very connected house. It connects us to the universe, to God, whatever word you want to use. But it connects us to spirit. It's a very karmic house. Again, interestingly enough, back in the day, and when I say back in the day, I'm talking again medieval times. The 12th house was very malefic. It also dealt with childbirth, because what the childbirth death rate was, 60% or something. So it was very, and it still has a good tale of secret enemies. And so the 12th house is kind of funky because it does, we like to think of it as connecting to source and being very mystical, but it does have a lot of darkness in it, this secrets and hiding and people who are doing you dirty. So it's a very interesting, I'd like to do something on the 12th house soon. It's very complex, like Pisces itself, right? It's very nebulous. You can't grab it. So I, as I said, want to focus today on these karmic, these evolutions, these water houses, right? And then one house I want to look at is the fourth house. Now we talk about the fourth house as having influence on the mother, the female energy, right? The moon resonates. The moon is where the moon likes to be in the fourth house, emotions, caring. But in medieval times, not too much of a shock here, both of the parents, with the father being a little more dominant in the fourth house. I have frankly seen, particularly if someone has the fourth house opened by Capricorn, right, very Saturnian. Saturn, Capricorn sort of vibrates to the father, where moon and moonchild to the mother. Or if someone has Saturn in the fourth house at birth, there is, I always talk about, all right, so tell me more about your father as well as the mother, because there is that play. But for the most part, I see the fourth house as feminine energy, mother energy, older female energies. Also, back in the day, it was land and property. So you could see it was much more patriarchal. And it does, on a mundane level, deal with the home. And when I say mundane astrology doesn't mean it's trite or useless. Mundane astrology is, to me, just the, very level, someone who doesn't get into the karmic aspect. And I have a good friend who is, a mundane astrologer. She doesn't do any karmic stuff, any past life stuff. And we've sat together and traded our charts. And, she comes up with stuff that I don't look at, and I come up with stuff that she doesn't look at. And that is the beauty of it. So on a mundane level, it is still my home. So if you have a transit to the fourth house, it may mean you're going to do something literally to the house. This is the first level of it. And it can relate to homeland, nationalism. If you have someone with, let's just say a world leader who's a Sagittarius South Node in the fourth house, I won't tell you who, my homeland, my family, my land. I've got to protect you from these invaders. So there is a twist there with the fourth house. The other level, I seem to get my fingers to work there. Oh, that's weird. A little glitch in the clicky area. The next level of the fourth house is basic home influence, your roots, the family you were born into, the family you create, the family that you produce. So it's, again, my house, the physical house, my roots, my mother, my relationship with mother, right? My family, where do I play that role in the family that I am now creating, these important females of your life. But I like to go deeper, okay? And to me, the one thing I always look at in the fourth house is, who are you? And again, if you look at the chart, if you look at an astrological chart, the fourth house is on the bottom. And, I had somebody say to me once, I think of the fourth house as where we sort of enter the chart. So it's very, again, it's a portal, like the fourth, the eighth, the 12th are portals. The fourth is a portal to your past life, to how you're coming in. The eighth is a portal to death and the other side. The 12th house is a portal to karma, the subconscious and the universe. These watery houses are portals where you come into the chart, where you're born into the chart. And so who are you at your most primal? And that's where I have fun with the fourth house. Who are you at your core? Who are you when there's nobody around, when you're just looking yourself in the mirror? And I have to tell you, I did have a client once say to me, I never look at myself in the mirror. I can't stand that person. Needless to say, she had a very botched up fourth house. She says, I look in the mirror and the only thing I want to say is, I hate you. And I'm like, okay, this is something you might want to address with someone who is a qualified therapist in some way. But that's the primal level of the fourth house. Can I look myself in the mirror? Can I address that person? Can I be honest? Can I take the masks off? Can I be totally bare naked with myself, kind of thing? And that can be freaky to some people. And that to me is that's where you get the juiciest part of the fourth house out. Now, I want to talk about the transits. And when I talk about transits, remember we have the progressions, which are internal, the outer transits, which are external, and they both have validity. But you don't want to really worry too much about a transit of the sun unless your progressed sun is in a house. That's got a little more weight. Sun moves fast. Pardon me. Venus moves fast. These guys are quick. I want to look at the big guys, the Plutos, the Neptunes, right? The ones who just take their time and just dig and dig. And speaking of Pluto, he is the digger of secrets. And I got to tell you, Pluto gets a bad rep. I have a lot of friends who are unhappy with what's going on in government. And I say, well, Pluto's in the sign of government, bringing change. Well, I'm tired of Pluto. Tell Pluto to move on. And I'm like, you kind of don't tell Pluto to move on. He's a pokey little guy. He's going to do what he's going to do. And he gets a bad rap. He's not a bad guy. But his job is to regenerate, right? I'm the Lord of the underworld, death, dying, and rebirth. How can you rebirth if you don't dig up the secrets, if you don't face the truth? He's sort of like the teacher, that we were like, oh, can't you just give me an A? No, I think the perfect example of Pluto is, how do you spell blah, blah, blah? And the parent or the teacher would say, go look it up. I was like, can't you just tell me? Like, no, Pluto says, go look it up, go dig. Okay. So when Pluto, this digger, this says that stuff that says, you may not want to see this truth, but here it is, right here. It's in your face, right? So yeah, when Pluto goes through the fourth house on that one level, could be, I move, right? Pluto's gone to my fourth house. Oh, this house is too big. This house is too small. I've been in this house too long. I really don't like this house. I need to add an addition to the house. I need to put a new attic on the house, right? It could be that basic. I got to move. I got to make a change in my physical house. Now, again, third house, it would be in the third wheel of the chart, progression. It's like, geez, yeah, I got to move. Yeah, I'm thinking about it. If it's in the fourth wheel where it's coming in from the universe, it may be, there goes the pipe in the wall. Oh my God, I got to do something major now to this house. It may be a new job, or your spouse gets a job. Hey, we got to move because I'm going to make XDX more money than this. So it's stuff that comes in. But it can also go to that next level of the fourth house, which is a change in familial relationships. It can be that, okay, I'll give you an example. Client, I don't think she spoke to her brother in, she says 20 to 25 years. She kind of lost track. Big blow up when they were in their 20s, never got along, he lives there, she lives there. I don't even want to know you exist. That's the way they lived for the better part of 20 years. Pluto fourth house, right? All of a sudden, they are thrown together at a family funeral. And they sort of start feeling each other out. And they realize that both of them have matured to the level where they can discuss this and they rebuild their relationship. Okay, that's great. Pluto in the fourth house, another client who sort of was the Cinderella of her family. she really did have 3 wicked sisters. They were not stepsisters, but you know, go do this, go do that, go do this. And she was always the type that couldn't say, excuse me, I can't do that. I need my own time. You are capable of doing that. I'm not your handmaiden. But she never did. Pluto in the 4th house, they all did their, oh, Christmas is coming. I expect you to do this and this and this. And she just said, no, I break, I stop. This is how this family relationship is going to be. If you want me in your lives, you will respect me. You will, and she went down the list. And that is a huge Pluto. So that's the next level of the 4th house. But I always want my clients to go deeper. I'm a Scorpio. I always liked Pluto. When I was in the 7th grade, I wrote a 22-page report on Pluto. I wish I had kept it. But Pluto, I want you to go deep. What about you do you want to change? And Pluto will bring up those areas. Pluto will bring up the secrets. And do you want to make the change that you need to do so that you can look yourself in the mirror? And because it is this portal of where we come in from the previous lives, this is a fantastic time to do past life regression work, to do any kind of work that gets to your subconscious, right? I'm not a therapist, I'm not a doctor, not a psychologist. I know people who do that, but that's the time to do that. Do I want to go to a qualified past life regressionist to find out what's blocking me? Do you want to go to a therapist? Do you want to do some subconscious work in that area? Use it, and it drives me crazy when people fear transits, particularly of Pluto and Saturn. Do the work, and the benefit is great. Now, with a Saturn transit, it's always about power and authority. As I said, Saturn is the taskmaster. He rules Capricorn. He vibrates to the energy of 10, linear space and time, right? You should, you must, you need to take care of, you need to follow the rules. This might be a time when there's a heavier duty of responsibility. This might be the time when not only the pipes break, but they discover termites, and you have to spend your money that you were going to go to Aruba with to fix the house, right? You haven't been paying attention to the house. You haven't been doing termite inspection. Saturn says, take authority over your house, right? And always remember that about Saturn. He's always saying, take authority over. Right? That's what he wants you to do. Take authority over. So on the next level, there might be a heavy duty. This might be when the elderly father, the elderly mother, the grandmother, whoever, gets sick and you have to take care of them. There's a duty, responsibility to the family. It can also be, again, where you put limits. Okay, Auntie Zelda, you've got 5 kids. Why are you always coming after me? You've got all this, money. Why are you always asking me for money? Take control of your life. Say no. Put those family boundaries up, right? And the tape in your head, because Saturn is so authoritarian. And again, we need some structure. We need life. Don't rag on Saturn. But whose tape in your head are you listening to? This is a very good time for the familial tapes. Again, Saturn is where we should on ourselves. I should do this. I must do that. I'm not doing enough. I'm not taking care of this person. I'm not living up to my father's, whatever. I didn't go to the right school. I didn't. That tape that runs in your head. I suck. I'm no good. I didn't listen to my mother. I was a terrible child. All that. Clear up those tapes. And then, how do we go at the most primal? Whose authority do I live my life by? Again, karmically. I have a friend who says, I don't know why. I always came in feeling that no matter what I would do, I would never be good enough. My parents never told me that. They were great. It was me. And I'm like, well, you're a Capricorn sun with Saturn rising. I'm sorry, Capricorn sun, Capricorn rising with Saturn in the first house. Right? That tape is ingrained. I, first house, right, ascendant, am not good enough, no matter what I do. Whose authority? Are you going to let that subconscious karmic tape from your past lives, Capricorn rising, Capricorn sun, you're going to let that tape play in your head, or you're going to get the help that you need to build the self-esteem, to get rid of that karmic tape? If you can look yourself in the mirror and say, I have authority over my life. I am, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone people like me. That is the essence. Go deeper into the fourth house. Uranus, I always say, look out. He's the trickster, right? Expect the unexpected. That wall, that pipe that we started with Pluto, right, suddenly breaks just as your boss and the entire company are coming to dinner. Boom, right? The house is set. The house, you cleaned it for 3 days. You got all the food prepared, and the wall goes boom. That's Uranus. He's going to wait. He's going to throw it at you when you least expect it. This ain't happy, right? This is annoying. As you're cleaning up the water with your guests because they've just walked in the door when the pipe blew, your boss, who's an expert in terracotta piping, realizes that you have some, your house is 100 years old and you have this incredible piping that's worth umpty dollars. Again, I'm making up scenarios here, but that's the gift, right? Uranus takes a load of crap, throws it in your face. And it's not always just a wall breaking, right? But then if you stop and you think and you say, wow, okay, that was tough, water all over, dinner ruined, the embarrassment that follows. Well, look what the gift he gave me. Always look for the gift with Uranus. Someone may suddenly want to buy your house, right? Knocked on the door. We all get those letters when the economy is good about, I want to buy your house. But I mean, this is like, hey, I'm going to give you umpty dollars for your house. What do you think? Okay. Or you suddenly get the chance to move far away. The dream job that you never thought you'd get, right? Uproot your house, go, right? Yeah, it's difficult. Yeah, you're leaving your friends. Yeah, it's sudden, but there's the gift. Then on the next level, you may find that long lost relative. I actually had a client. That's a letter one day, Uranus transiting 4. If your name is so-and-so, you were born on this date, if you were born at this hospital, if your parents' names were, very detailed, specific, and correct information about his life, then I'm your brother. And you have, 2 sisters here and blah, blah, blah. What? That long lost relative, unknown relative. Similarly, I've had people discover that they were perhaps adopted. And, when I was a kid, you never talked about adoption. In fact, I remember one poor kid, someone started the rumor that she was adopted. Oh my God. We didn't talk about it, but people have discovered the unknown relative. People have discovered their mother is not their mother. Their mother may actually be their grandmother. All of this stuff. Yeah, it's a shock. Yeah, in some cases, it's a difficult shock. But then you say, well, look, now I have a whole new family now I understand why I never fit in. Now I understand, like this one client where he had 2 or 3 brothers, and then he found another side of the family. It's like, well, I always thought I was an only child, so there's always that gift. But next level, that deeper level of the fourth house, someone may really hurt your feelings, right? Say something that just brings you back to the kid on the playground, and it shocks you. Dare you say that? Oh my God, no one said that about. Oh my God, you made me feel like I was 6 years old. Oh my God. Wait a minute. Why am I still harboring those feelings? The gift, right? I need to clear that. I need to work through that. Look for issues that relate to sense of self. Someone stealing your thunder, someone taking your credit, someone putting you back into that little kid spot, right? Oh, so-and-so stole all my ideas and got that promotion. And I'm just so mad. All right, why am I sitting here pouting? How can I change myself? How did I let so-and-so steal all my ideas? What in me didn't stand up 6 months ago when I knew darn well they were stealing my ideas? What is that blockage from my childhood? You see, so the Uranus doesn't always give you the gift of, here's $1 million for your house. He can be painful. It could even be a sudden loss of someone in your family. The gift, is your resilience, and maybe it brings together a dysfunctioning part of the family. You don't know what it is, but it's there. Neptune is always very reflective, very nebulous, very spiritual, and a chance for grace. I have seen people say, I want to put a meditation center in my house, a little corner. I'm like, I wonder if Neptune is progressing their fourth house. And normally it is. That inner, like, I don't know, I want to get up every morning and have a place to go to do my yoga. I want to build this area in my house. It could be a time for mending, finding grace. It's also on that next level, healing of an ancestral level. Okay, so Neptune is very spiritual, connect to the other side, connect to source, karma. I know of a guy, read a couple of his books, Daniel Foor, F-O-O-R, yeah. He writes, has a website, Ancestral Medicine. And I've taken some of his classes where you actually connect and you heal the lineage. You can go back and heal connections and heal family strife and heal this energy. It's a very Neptunian time because you are going to source, right? Connecting, dealing with karma, which is a Neptune 12th house thing, and healing familial connections, lineage healing. And then, of course, if you go to the next level, right? How do I heal or handle spirituality in me? Neptune, fourth house, coming from that side transit. Again, it could be something wonderful. Oh, this person just came in out of the blue and started talking to me about this, great meditation that brings you to your roots, and yeah, that's great. It could be a sudden loss again of someone, not so sudden, it's Neptune, but this need to say, oh, wait a minute, I just heard that so-and-so was 30 years old and dropped dead of some weird thing. I need to start thinking about spirituality. So it's, it can come as a good package. It can come as a difficult package. But that third level of the fourth house, how do I handle my spirituality? Am I a spiritual creature at all? Do I care? What answers do I ask myself about these things? So these are the times to dig into you, past and present. What do I accomplish? How do I right these karmic wrongs, if you will? How do I change the tape? How do I dig into the areas that may be too painful? How do I look myself in the mirror? And again, don't forget those progressions. I'm going to bring that chart up again. Don't forget those progressions, those second and third wheels, that inner stuff, because that you know, I would say what I said, 70% of people go on and don't really worry about or deal with or care about, you know, where planets are progressed, and they just sort of shake things off, but be aware of that stuff. And then again, remember, if you want to reach me, there's my email, jonesastrology at Joan Porte, my website, joanporte.com. I hope you've enjoyed walking through the fourth house with me, and I will see you next time with the eighth house.